Hi, please subscribe. It's 1 second for you and a big support for me. I'll never forget the sound that stopped me cold. It was laughter, hers, and it wasn't coming from the TV. I had come home early to surprise Brianna. We'd been off lately, and I figured a takeout dinner and a night in might break whatever wall had gone up between us. I parked down the street so she wouldn't hear the garage, came in through the front door, and crept toward the bedroom. Then I heard his voice, my younger brother Tyler. At first, I froze, just standing there in the hallway like a damn idiot while my brain tried to piece it together. I thought maybe they were watching something. Maybe Tyler had just stopped by. But then came the unmistakable sound of skin slapping skin, a low moan, her moan. I opened the door, and there they were, naked, my fiancé, my brother, in my bed. Brianna screamed and grabbed the sheets. Tyler turned pale, like he'd seen a ghost. I didn't say a word, not one. I just stared at them, standing there like a stranger in my own house. Tyler stammered first. "It's not what you think," I cut him off, voice low but solid. "Get the hell out." They scrambled like scared animals, clothes flying, no excuses, no fighting. I didn't give them a chance. I opened the front door and stood there until they were both gone. I locked it behind them and walked out the back without grabbing a damn thing. I drove straight to my best friend Jake's place and crashed on his couch in the same clothes. That night, I called off the engagement, blocked her, blocked him, deleted both numbers. I didn't even want to hear their lies. When I told my parents the next morning, my mom actually sighed and said, "Well, you were never home. Maybe she just felt neglected." Neglected? I was working 12-hour days to build our future, for her, for us. My dad tried to play mediator, said I should talk to Tyler like a man. I told them both to go to hell and hung up. Haven't spoken to either of them since. Total blackout. No calls, no messages, nothing. You want to know the messed up part? That silence, being alone, was the only thing that made sense after what they did. Jake didn't ask questions that night, just handed me a beer, pointed to the spare blanket and said, "Whatever it is, deal with it tomorrow." I did, starting with erasing both of them from my life for good. The blanket Jake tossed me smelled like his dog, and the couch was stiff as hell, but I passed out in minutes. My brain just shut down. The next morning hit hard, like that moment right after a car crash where everything's too quiet and your ears are ringing. While I stared at the ceiling, trying to figure out what the hell just happened to my life, I kept thinking back to how it all started. Before everything went to hell, I wasn't just happy, I was proud. I was 34. Managing multi-million-dollar projects all over Denver. I had a great crew, a good reputation, and more than enough work lined up to keep me stacked for years. I was the guy people called when they needed something done right. Brianna used to say she loved how focused I was, said it made her feel secure. We met 5 years back on a hotel remodel downtown. She was the event planner running logistics for some rare conference the week after we wrapped up. So she had opinions about everything, from paint color to carpet texture. At first I thought she was a pain in the ass, but she knew what she was doing, confident, sharp. The kind of woman who didn't back down. By the second meeting, we were flirting without even trying. She made a crack about my Metallica t-shirt, and I fired back about her overpriced designer water bottle. We ended up grabbing drinks that night and talking until the bar closed. Music, food, hiking, work. Everything just clicked. She hated pretentious people, loved dive bars and greasy breakfast spots, swore by Led Zeppelin, and could actually name 3 of their albums. After that, we were inseparable. Every weekend was another mountain trail or brewery crawl. Even weekdays we made time. She'd show up on site with lunch sometimes. I thought that meant something. 2 years in, I planned the proposal, took her to Telluride for the weekend. We hiked up to Bear Creek Falls, waited until it got dark, and I popped the question under the stars. She cried, said yes so fast I barely got the words out, said she'd never felt more sure of anything. I remember thinking, I actually got it right this time. I'd dated around, had a few long-term things that went nowhere, but with her, it felt solid, real. We bought a place together in Lakewood a few months later, big enough for a family, close enough to downtown for her job. She handled the decorating, I handled the yard. Every now and then, we'd argue, nothing serious, just stress, wedding planning, normal stuff. Or so I thought. Tyler was around a lot back then. He'd just moved back to Denver after his startup crashed, said he needed a reset, somewhere to crash while he figured stuff out. I had the space, and he was my little brother. It was a no-brainer. He always got along with Brianna. She laughed at his stupid jokes, gave him career advice, even helped him update his resume. I used to think it was sweet, her trying to help him out. Tyler had always lived in my shadow a little. I figured he needed the boost. She called him her practice groomsman, always teasing that he was warming up for the real show. He'd make her drinks, carry stuff around for her, tag along to wedding fittings when I was stuck at work. I didn't think twice. They were both just there, part of the same picture. Looking back now, I feel like a damn fool. All the signs were probably right in front of me, and I just waved them off like nothing. We'd even talked about kids. She wanted two, close in age. I joked about a dog first to test the waters, and she said, no way, baby first, puppy later. We had names picked out. A spare room turned into a nursery in progress before the wedding even happened. Every weekend I wasn't on a job site. We were making plans. Guest list spreadsheets, cake tastings, engagement photos in the mountains. I thought we were building something permanent. Turns out, I was just setting the stage for someone else to come in and burn it all down. The slow unravel started small. Brianna began canceling our Friday date nights. First, it was a client dinner that ran late. Then she was too drained from meetings. After the third week in a row, I asked if something was wrong. She didn't even look up from her phone. Work's insane right now, babe. Can we not make a big deal out of it? I let it go. Figured she was overwhelmed. The wedding was 2 months out, and her job got chaotic around the holidays. I didn't want to be that guy, needy, insecure. So, I backed off. Meanwhile, Tyler was around constantly. At first it made sense. He'd just moved back, needed support. He was sleeping on a buddy's couch across town, always showing up with some excuse. Just passing by, or thought you guys might need a hand with wedding stuff. One night he brought over a bottle of wine Brianna liked and stayed for dinner without even asking. It was weird, but I chalked it up to him being lonely. He was in between jobs, trying to land freelance gigs, spinning his wheels. Brianna didn't seem to mind. She actually lit up when he was around, laughing more, staying engaged. I figured maybe she needed the help since I was working overtime and missing some of the planning crap. But then he started knowing things I hadn't told him, like the exact venue layout before I'd even seen it, or the song we picked for our first dance. I mentioned it to Brianna once, just casually, and she said, "Oh, I must have told him. You know how scatterbrained I've been?" That should have raised a flag, but I let it slide. I started noticing her phone never left her hand. If I walked into the room, the screen flipped down. Notifications suddenly stopped lighting up the screen. One night, I came out of the shower and she was texting, but as soon as she saw me, she hit the lock button like a reflex. "Who you texting?" I asked, drying my hair. She hesitated a split second too long. "Kelly, bridesmaid drama." I wanted to believe her, so I did. But deep down, something felt off. We were still sleeping in the same bed, but the space between us felt wider every week. She stopped reaching for me at night. No more random kisses in the kitchen. No, "I love you," unless I said it first. I told myself it was just wedding stress, that things would get better after the big day, that once the planning pressure was off, we'd get back to normal. Then came the Tuesday everything cracked. I was supposed to be on site all day in Colorado Springs, overseeing a permit inspection, but it got canceled last minute. I didn't text or call. I figured I'd surprise Brianna with lunch. I swung by her favorite Thai place, picked up green curry and those weird spring rolls she loved, and headed home. The house was too quiet when I walked in. No TV, no music, no sound at all. I kicked off my boots, set the bag on the counter, and headed toward the bedroom. Then I heard it. Laughter. Her laugh. Soft, private, not the kind you share with just anyone. And then I heard his. I stopped mid-step in the hallway. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I might throw up. The door was cracked open just an inch, and through that sliver, I saw a bare foot on the sheets. My throat closed. Everything in me froze. I should have walked in right then, kicked the damn door open, ended it on the spot. But I couldn't move. I stood there like a statue, heart pounding, fists clenched, and all I could think was, this can't be what it looks like. But it was. I backed away, quiet as I could, left the food on the counter, and walked out the front door. I sat in my truck for almost an hour, staring at the wheel, shaking. The betrayal hadn't even landed yet. It was still floating above me like a hammer waiting to drop. That was the moment everything I'd ignored came crashing down in my face. I didn't go back inside that night. I drove straight to Jake's place and stayed there, hands tight on the wheel the whole way, like it was the only thing keeping me upright. When I parked, I finally checked my phone. Missed calls, texts, her name lighting up the screen over and over. I didn't answer. I crashed on Jake's couch again, but sleep never came. Around dawn, I drove back to the house with boxes in the bed of my truck. I went in while they were gone. I didn't look at the bedroom. I grabbed clothes, my laptop, work boots, and anything that felt like mine. I was in and out in under 30 minutes. By noon, Brianna finally cornered me with a call from a blocked number. I answered by mistake. "You're blowing this way out of proportion," she said fast, like she'd rehearsed it. "You walked in at a bad moment, that's all." "A bad moment?" I said. My voice didn't even sound like mine. "It just happened once," she said. "We made a mistake. You don't throw away 5 years over one mistake." I hung up. Then Tyler texted. Not a call, a text. "I'm sorry, man. I never meant for it to go that far." That was it. No explanation, no accountability. Just enough words to clear his conscience. I blocked him without replying. The next call was my mom. I should have let it go to voicemail. I didn't. "You're being dramatic," she said. "Your brother's struggling and Brianna needed support. You've been married to your job." I laughed, a short, ugly sound. "So, this is my fault?" "I'm just saying you weren't around much," she replied. "Maybe take some responsibility." I hung up on her mid-sentence and blocked her number too. Same with my dad after he tried to smooth things over. I wasn't interested in smoothing anything. The next morning, I called our venue and canceled. Then the florist, then the caterer. Saying the words out loud, "the wedding is off," felt like swallowing glass. Every call ended with a pause, then an awkward apology from someone who didn't know what else to say. I hired a lawyer that afternoon. He didn't blink when I told him what happened, just nodded, took notes, and laid out the steps. Separate finances, sell the house, cancel the marriage license, cut clean. Jake came with me to sign the first batch of paperwork. He didn't say much, just sat there and made sure I didn't walk out halfway through. That was his way. Quiet backup, no speeches. The nights were the worst. I'd lie there staring at the ceiling, replaying everything on a loop. Her laugh, Tyler's voice, the sound of the door in the hallway. Over and over until my chest tightened and I had to sit up just to breathe. Jake would hear me pacing and toss me a bottle of water. "You want to talk?" he'd ask. "No," I'd say, and he'd leave it at that. Work tried to pull me back in, but my focus was shot. I'd read the same email 5 times and still not know what it said. Every quiet moment turned into another replay I couldn't shut off. One night, around 3 a.m, I finally got up, laced my boots, and stepped outside into the cold. I walked around the block until my legs burned and my head went quiet for a few minutes. When I got back, I didn't crawl onto the couch. I sat at the kitchen table, opened my laptop, and started listing everything I still needed to cut out of my life. One name, one tie at a time. I stared at that list for weeks. Names, bills, reminders, anything tied to her or Tyler. I deleted them one by one until there was nothing left to deal with. Then I started over. I found a small apartment in Edgewater. Clean, quiet, just me and a mattress on the floor for the first month. I started going back to the gym. Work picked up again. I forced myself into routines, meal prep, long runs, job sites 6 days a week. I still didn't talk to my parents, didn't hear from Brianna. The silence finally felt like peace. 6 months passed. I was finally sleeping again. The kind of sleep where your body just shuts down and doesn't torture you with memories. That's how I knew I was healing. I wasn't happy yet, but at least I wasn't waking up in a panic. Then one night, my old phone, shoved in a drawer, never used, started vibrating like it was possessed. 83 missed calls, all from Tyler. I stood there staring at the screen like it might catch fire. My first instinct was to toss it in the trash, but something made me tap into the voicemail. His voice was hoarse, panicked, like he couldn't get the words out fast enough. "Derek, man, I'm in the hospital. I'm not okay. You need to hear me out. Please just let me explain. She lied to both of us. She told me you were cheating. She told me you were going to leave her after the wedding. She played me, man. She played us both. I was stone cold by the end of it. I didn't buy a word. Felt like a last-ditch guilt trip, something to soften what he'd done. Then came the second message. She flipped out when I told her I knew. I confronted her and she lost it. I've got proof. Texts, emails, screenshots. It's at my apartment. Please go get it if something happens. That gave me pause. Brianna wasn't the type to lose control. She always kept her cool, always calculated. If she really lost it, that meant something. I didn't respond, but I couldn't sleep again either. By morning, I called the hospital. He'd been admitted overnight after a car wreck. Busted ribs, concussion, internal bruising. Not critical, but serious enough to keep him a few days. Jake didn't love the idea, but he handed me the keys anyway. You sure you want to drag this back up? No, I said, but I need to know. Tyler lived in a crappy one-bedroom near Capitol Hill. I found the folder exactly where he said, in a locked drawer in the nightstand, labeled "For Derek" in thick black marker. That hit harder than I expected. Inside were printed emails, text screenshots, calendar invites, even fake message threads. She'd edited conversations to look like I was seeing another woman behind her back. She'd forwarded them to Tyler months before everything went down. Half the screenshots were fake, cropped, fabricated. Some were real messages I'd sent, to coworkers, to clients, but twisted to look like something else. I sat on his floor with the folder spread out like crime scene evidence and tried to make sense of it. Brianna hadn't just cheated, she'd orchestrated it. She'd fed Tyler lies and watched him spiral. It was a long game, and we were both her targets. I left the folder on Jake's kitchen table that night and didn't say a word. I just sat there with my head in my hands, letting the full weight of it land. Tyler might have crossed a line he could never uncross, but Brianna? She built the damn cliff and pushed him off it. I didn't go to the hospital to forgive him. I didn't even go for answers. I went because the folder was still sitting in my head like a live wire, and I needed to see the face of the guy who helped blow my life apart. The place smelled like disinfectant and burnt coffee. Tyler looked smaller in the bed, banged up worse than I expected, bruises crawling up his neck, one arm strapped tight. His face lit up when he saw me, then fell just as fast. I didn't think you'd come, he said. I didn't come to talk, I said. I came to listen. He swallowed hard and nodded. That's fair. He told me the crash wasn't an accident. Said Brianna followed him after he told her he was done lying and was going to tell me everything. Said she lost it in the car, screaming, swerving, clipping his bumper on the highway. He overcorrected and spun out. Woke up in the ambulance. I should have called the cops, he said. I didn't. I was still trying to protect her. I don't even know why. A nurse poked her head in and warned him he had surgery scheduled soon. Tyler reached for the drawer beside the bed and pulled out another folder, thicker than the first. He held it out with a shaking hand. I brought backups, he said, in case she trashed my place. Inside were more screenshots, longer threads, stuff I hadn't seen yet. Messages where Brianna talked about me like I was a problem to solve. Complaints about my job, my hours, my money. Lines about how everyone always saw me as the stable one, the golden kid. One message stuck out. He doesn't even see you. I do. You matter to me. Tyler's voice cracked when I looked up. I believed her. I felt invisible my whole life next to you. She knew exactly how to press that button. I didn't say anything. I just flipped pages. There were messages from months before the cheating, her laying groundwork, twisting stories, planting doubt. She wasn't reacting to a situation. She was engineering one. I hated myself the whole time, Tyler said, but I kept telling myself you were already gone, that I wasn't really taking anything from you. You took everything, I said, not loud, not angry, just true. Tears ran down his face, and he didn't wipe them. I know, and I'd take it back if I could. I just want you to know I never loved her. I wanted to feel like I mattered. The nurse came back with a gurney. Time was up. As they wheeled him toward the doors, Tyler grabbed my sleeve. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. I just couldn't let you think it was all you. I stepped back and watched them push him down the hall. Didn't wave, didn't follow. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table until sunrise. Folders spread out, coffee going cold. The anger I'd been carrying for months finally burned out. What replaced it wasn't peace, it was disgust. I stacked the papers neatly, slid them back into the folder, and locked them in a drawer, then stood up, grabbed my keys, and walked out the door to clear my head before the sun fully came up. The sky was barely turning gray when I got back. I made coffee I didn't drink and stared at the folders like they might sprout teeth. By 9, I was at my lawyer's office with both binders in my lap. He flipped through them slowly, not saying much until he got to the faked texts. "If this had come out during a divorce proceeding," he said, tapping the corner of a screenshot, "she'd be facing fraud accusations, and you would have walked away with everything. But we never made it that far," I said. He shrugged. "Doesn't mean you can't protect yourself retroactively. I'll update your file, close out the last tie on the house, and get formal statements added to the license withdrawal, just in case she tries anything later." Appreciate it. That was it. No courtroom drama, no big reveal. Just a folder full of garbage that almost ruined me and a quiet lawyer who knew how to make it disappear. On the drive home, I thought about confronting her, not to yell, just to let her see my face, let her know she didn't win. But I didn't do it. She wasn't worth the gas money. I went home, threw the folders in a box, sealed it, and shoved it in the back of my closet next to some old tools and winter gear I hadn't touched in a year. Later that week, my phone buzzed with a voicemail. Unfamiliar number, but I knew the voice the second it started. It was my mom. "I'm sorry," she said. "Tyler told us everything. We were wrong. I was wrong. You didn't deserve any of it. I should have listened." She paused, like she was waiting for me to pick up halfway through. Then she added, quieter, We didn't want to believe he was capable of that." That made 2 of us. I listened to the whole thing once. Didn't delete it. Didn't save it either. I set the phone face down on the counter and walked out back. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel pissed off. I didn't feel anything, really. Just empty. Not the broken kind of empty, just done. I stopped checking for texts, stopped wondering what anyone else thought. I dove into work like it was the only thing keeping me breathing. Picked up every extra project that came my way. Traveled out to job sites I'd usually hand off. Drove through small towns with bad coffee and long drives just to get out of my own head. Being exhausted was better than being bitter. On one site in Wyoming, I worked 12-hour shifts in freezing wind for 5 days straight. Didn't even complain. One night, after a double shift, I climbed onto the half-finished steel frame and looked out over the town. No noise, just lights and wind and distance. I didn't know what came next. I just knew it wasn't going to include them. 3 weeks later, I got the call. It was my dad's number. I almost let it ring out, but something told me to answer. "Tyler's gone," he said. Just like that. No build-up, no soft landing. He had an infection. It spread fast. They couldn't stop it. I didn't say anything, just let the words settle. "The funeral's Saturday. It's small. Just family," he added. "We'd like you there." I told him I'd think about it. Then I sat on the edge of my bed for 20 minutes, staring at the wall, wondering if showing up made me weak or human. I drove out that Saturday in a plain black suit that didn't quite fit anymore. The funeral home was quiet, basic, no slideshow, no eulogies. A few family members I hadn't seen in years were scattered in chairs, whispering. My mom was up front with a tissue crumpled in her hand, eyes swollen. My dad stood next to her, looking 10 years older. When he saw me, he didn't say a word, just walked over and pulled me into a hug so tight I couldn't breathe for a second. "Thank you," he said. My mom came up after, lips trembling. "I'm sorry," was all she managed. Then she started crying, and I just nodded. I didn't know what to say. Nothing would have made it easier. The service lasted maybe 20 minutes. A pastor read a few lines from Psalms. Someone played a song Tyler used to like when we were kids. Simple Man. That part hit harder than I expected. At the burial, they handed out little folded letters. My name was scribbled across one of them in Tyler's handwriting. I waited until everyone walked away before I opened it. "Derek, if you're reading this, I didn't get the chance to fix it. I know I messed up beyond repair, and I'll never blame you if you hate me forever. I probably would too. But I need you to know I never loved her. I lied to myself, thinking I did. But it wasn't about her. It was about you, about always being second best. She made me feel like I mattered, even if it was fake. I let my pride ruin the only real relationship I had left. I just wanted to feel like I was worth something, and I chose the worst way to get there. I hope, one day, you'll find it in you to forgive me. But if you can't, I get it. I really do. Tyler. I read it twice, folded it back up, and slipped it into my coat pocket. I didn't cry. I didn't fall apart. I just stood there while the wind kicked up dust around the headstone. My mom walked over, squeezed my arm, and whispered, "He wanted you to have that." I nodded once, then turned and walked to my truck. I didn't know what forgiveness looked like. I didn't know if I'd ever be able to hand it out even now. But standing there, watching that coffin lower into the ground, I felt something shift. It wasn't closure, but it was something. I drove back from the funeral and never unpacked. The letter stayed in my coat pocket for a while, then moved to a drawer I didn't open often. That same week, I put the Lakewood house on the market. I didn't care about price or timing. I just wanted it gone. 2 weeks later, I accepted a job offer in Bend, Oregon. Project lead on a commercial mixed-use development. Clean start, new state, no ghosts. I didn't tell anyone besides Jake. Packed my things, loaded up my truck, and drove west without looking back. No long goodbye, no party. I was just gone. The air in Bend was different, colder, cleaner. I moved into a small house just outside the city. Nothing flashy, just enough space for my tools, a decent couch, and a bike rack. That first weekend, I bought a mountain bike and hit the trails just to burn out the noise still spinning in my chest. I hadn't touched a bike in years, but it worked. Every climb and drop yanked me further away from the version of myself that got burned back in Colorado. Work was steady. I threw myself into the new team, new schedule, new city layout. I stopped checking social media, changed my number, deleted old contacts. Brianna was a ghost. Tyler was a memory. I didn't owe anyone explanations. A couple months in, I found a local youth program that taught basic construction skills, framing, drywall, even welding. They needed volunteers, so I signed up without thinking twice. Every Wednesday night, I helped high school kids use power tools and stop stripping screws. It wasn't deep or emotional, it just gave me purpose outside of a paycheck. 6 months passed before I even thought about dating again. A coworker set me up with someone local. We grabbed coffee, talked about music, nothing heavy. It wasn't fireworks, but I didn't flinch when she reached for my hand. That was new. I went on a second date with her the next weekend, and a third after that. Still casual, still easy. We both had our baggage, but no one was pretending they didn't. I told her my last relationship ended ugly, left it at that. She didn't pry, and I didn't volunteer more. That silence felt like the cleanest part of it. I didn't talk to my parents much. Every once in a while, my dad would text a photo, my mom's garden, their dog, a random meal he was proud of. I'd respond with a thumbs up or a short line. We kept it light, cordial, civil, but the weight was gone. I didn't feel like I was waiting for them to fix anything anymore. I didn't need an apology to function. I didn't need to explain my silence. I wasn't angry. I just didn't feel connected to that version of me anymore, the one who spent years trying to hold everything together while everyone else chipped away at it. Now, I had mornings where I woke up and didn't think about what happened. Entire days where I didn't replay the betrayal or rewrite conversations in my head. That was the biggest change, just getting to exist without being stuck in someone else's mess. I wasn't chasing happiness, I was just living. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. I was leaving the job site when it hit me, 1 year to the day. 1 year since I walked into that bedroom and watched my life cave in. I didn't mark it on a calendar or plan some ritual. I just knew. My body knew. The air felt the same. That tightness behind the ribs, that weight in the back of my throat. Like memory had its own schedule and didn't need permission to show up. I got home, dropped my gear by the door, and grabbed my phone off the counter. Missed call, 1 voicemail. Brianna. Her name lit up the screen like it belonged to someone else. I stood there staring at it, thumb hovering, jaw clenched. Then I hit play. Her voice hadn't changed. Calm, soft, controlled. "Hey, I don't expect a response. I heard about Tyler. I'm sorry. I didn't know." She paused. I could hear her breathing like she was trying to hold it together, but it sounded fake, practiced. "I never meant to hurt anyone," she said. "I've been in therapy, working on myself. I know that probably doesn't mean anything to you, but I wanted you to know. I hope you're doing okay." That was it. No plea for forgiveness, no sob story. Just a polished little wrap-up. I didn't say anything, didn't think about it. I deleted the message and grabbed my running shoes. I hit the trail just as the sun was dipping behind the pines. Cool air on my face, gravel crunching underfoot. The Deschutes River flowed steady on my right, slicing through the rocks like it didn't care what was in its path. Halfway up the ridge, I stopped to catch my breath and looked out over the water. I hadn't responded to her because there was nothing left to say. I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her voice in my ear pretending to be sorry. I'd done the work. I'd crawled through the wreckage and built something new out of it. She didn't get to touch that. The truth had been ugly, yeah, but it was enough. And more importantly, it was mine. The silence between us, that was the real closure, not some half-baked voicemail. I stood there until my chest stopped heaving, then turned around and ran back down the trail. Whatever she was looking for, she wasn't getting it from me. I had my life back, and I wasn't giving it up for anyone ever again.